Now to our last, but definitely not least speaker for this day, for the first day of our Big-Data.AI Summit, Jesper Grode from Stibo System, and decades of experience with master data management technologies, people and processes has led Jesper into his current role, spearheading Stibo System innovation around multi-domain master data management, augmented master data management, and technology adoption. And there at Stibo System, he's responsible for company-wide strategic initiatives on product innovations in order to increase the value of their products. Jesper comes from prior roles as product strategy director, section head research and development, director professional services, and as an associate professor at the Danish University. Jesper, we are very happy to have you here with your presentation about engaging a customer's compelling product story, telling through data-driven generative AI. Thank you very much. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Pablo. And thank you for hanging in there. I'm gonna try not to make this death by PowerPoint. And I'm the only thing standing between you and the social event that we have a little bit later. So I'll try and get you out there as quickly as I can. But actually, first, I'd like your help because there's someone here in this room who's been working hard all day to make this a success, and that's actually the production team up there. So why don't we just give them just a little hand of applause? Thank you. I'm going to start with three questions. Given the fact where we are, if someone can complete this sentence, I propose to consider the question. Can anyone complete that sentence? No? We're in the Alan Turing room. Can machines think? He posed that in an article back in 1950. And I think that's actually somewhere around where all of this started. My presentation today is not only about generative AI. I think a lot's been said today about that. So what I'm going to do is give you three takeaways. It is about customer loyalty, and it is about how customer loyalty meets multi-domain MDM. And I'll give you a sort of a baseline of multi-domain MDM a little bit later, because I'm not here to sell, but still, in order to understand the rest of the presentation, you need sort of just a little bit of foundation for that. I'm going to talk about augmented intelligence in the information supply chain. Did any one of you see the presentation from Schwarz IT or Edeka a little bit earlier on? Okay, they work in the supply chain. We deliver solutions for the information supply chain. So all that data that goes from all the way from field to fork, if we're in food and groceries, there's a lot of data that transverses in that information supply chain. And how can we apply AI, and it's deliberately augmented intelligence, so we are augmenting the human brain with some machine learning, some help and assistance to make that information supply chain much faster, much more efficient. And then finally, of course, I'm going to show you a little bit about how we use generative AI and also some advice on how to use it wisely. There's been talks about ethics, there's been talk about responsible AI. We have an approach to that as well. So customer loyalty meets MDM. So 2 slides on the baseline, and then I have 3 more slides that are static and 3 videos, and then that's it. So when you heard, was it Tim Still from Schwarz IT speak, he spoke about this constant flow of information that they have in their, actually in their logistics system. But when you think about someone like Kaufland or Lidl or any other retailer, they will get a lot of data from their upstream systems and their upstream trading partners, all the way from manufacturing and supply and distribution, all the way through into their own system where they need to govern all this data. They need to curate all that data. Why do they need to do that? Because there's an upside to using all of that data. For instance, to create this compelling story about the products that they sell in their stores so that they can differentiate themselves from competition. So that's why you need to, as for instance a retailer, but also across other types of industries, you need to have a view on who are you trading data with, how is this all this data categorized and classified, how do you live up to to compliance and regulations, for instance. What about all your structured data? You have a lot of, I mean, we heard about Excel. Obviously, you have systems that does that, such as ours, to govern your attributes, your descriptions, your sizes, your dimensions of all the goods you sell. Could be food, could be medical supply, can be hard goods, home appliances, whatever. And you also have a lot of unstructured data. But the upside to all of that data, if you govern that carefully in a platform, then you can actually leverage that for your product storytelling. Now, it's not just about product data. If you want to tell a good story about the products that you sell, you will have to have information about who are your customers, because you want to create a story for a particular customer segment. You want to create a story for where they're sold. We heard about that there's in the Mediterranean area there's an uptake on certain products in the summer season and a downside in the winter time. Very natural, but you need that data to drive the conversation with your end consumer so that they stay your customer. So location data, party data, employees, suppliers, reference data, assets, everything that you need to govern to tell that story. And on the receiving side, so on the right-hand side, you have all the systems that will take that data. So that is points of sales, it's obviously your online shop, but it's also brick and mortar, it's shelf labels, it's everything that you do to drive sales in for instance, a retail chain. So that's the baseline. That is what we're looking at here. How do we then, with all these processes for curating data, making sure you have the good quality of your data, how do you then drive that into tell a good story about your products? And why do you want to do that? Well, when I go online shopping, I need data. I need information about the products I want to buy, and I need to see something that is different and better than on another site. Well, I actually just go to the site where I find the best information. That's how I shop online. Others will have other behaviors, like they see the best pictures or they find good videos. But you need to make sure that you have a good online presence and that your products are findable, they're searchable, and that each customer is seen as one unique customer. I want to be seen as a unique customer. You want to have good quality data. You want to deliver good products, good services around your products, returns, relevant and timely information, and it needs to be complete and consistent and correct. And I want as a consumer, if I should be loyal to a brand, they need to be consistent in their messaging. It's no good if I go to the shop and I see one message and I go online and see a different one. So that's where the whole product storytelling, customer loyalty, and hopefully multi-domain master data management sort of comes together in one big pot. Now, if we dive a little bit into where we can then help, how can we apply machine learning and AI in the processes that we support our clients with so that they can optimize their business? That is, you can categorize it in also many ways. But things like bringing data into the system and categorize it. And does anyone know about the industry standards ETIM and E-Class, UNSPSC, GPC, GDSN, all those? There's lots of different standards that you need to comply with. For instance, if you are selling electrical goods, that is a mundane task to categorize all that information. Use AI to do that. Use it for automating the onboarding process, the mapping of the data that you receive to your own taxonomy. I mean, just think about that process of taking all that data from tens of thousands of different suppliers that have their own formats and then put that into one stringent governed data model in your own data warehouse. That's a big challenge. Content automation, so things like the quality of the data that you're driving your storytelling with, things like entity matching and resolution. It's about deduplicating customer data records. I'm not going to go into that right now. So 3 small videos that will illustrate, and I'm sure you can't see at the back. And you should raise these televisions just half a meter, because then those in the back can also see. What you see here is, I'm a data manager. I've received a lot of data from my supplier. I'm apparently someone who's retailing some kind of surge protection IT network thing. I need to categorize this particular item into a number of different standards you can see over there. There's eTIM, there's eClass, there's different standards, taxonomies that I need to classify. This is not generative AI. This is just simple, unsupervised decision trees, but it's very effective to make sure that the data steward will onboard that product data really fast, instead of having to select, just as an example, the E-class taxonomy that you need to comply with in certain industries have 14,000 different classifications. You need to find the right one. So if you can get the AI machine to find the 5 that are most likely, that's a huge help. The next one, that's data completion through what we call value suggestion. And what you can think of is, it is a way to augment the data that you receive. Assume, again, I'm now dealing these chargers, and I get some data from my suppliers, but it's incomplete. But I have some other data sets that I can use to train a machine to predict and suggest values for this particular item where I'm missing some data. I'm missing some information about it. You can think about it as, it's Netflix. It's like, what have your friends watched last? That then feeds to a machine that will recommend you what to watch next. It's the exact same principle here. We just train a model with existing data, and then it can suggest how to impute, how to complete data records for other types of products that I'm receiving and working with. Lastly, and this is back to product storytelling. There are retailers will receive thousands of product data records, maybe weekly, and they need to drive that compelling story on their in their online store, e-shop, wherever they want to sell and trade their items. Building product descriptions for me to read as a consumer about this particular, now in this case, this iPhone here, is also a mundane task. It takes a lot of time. This is where you can really make a huge impact by applying things like large language models, foundation models, ChatGPT, whatever level we engage with it in, to build those product descriptions. And what you see, what we're doing here is we're just taking the basic raw information and we feed that to ChatGPT, and it brings back automatically a description of this item that I can then send downstream to my consuming systems. But what I can also do through some clever prompt engineering, is I can select it says tone here, and it says psychographics. I can select my tone of voice. I can select my customer segment. Who am I addressing? And what campaign is it? What year is it? What region am I selling in? And you can obviously also use it for translation. This can drive a lot of effectiveness in organization by using ChatGPT for something like this. Or if you're concerned about privacy of your data, you just use a private cloud OpenAI implementation. I talked a little bit about responsibility of this, because if you use machines to generate content that you send downstream, you're liable. In whatever way you do it, you're liable for what you put online. That's your responsibility. So even though that you use machine learning to generate, for instance, a compelling product story, you still need to have some kind of review of that content before you actually commit it and send it downstream. You don't want to violate copyrights. You don't want to be compliant with laws and regulations in certain markets and things like that. So you still need to have that kind of review process. I think we've heard that a couple of times, that you need to put the human at the center. You need to have the human in the loop, at least, to make sure that what goes out is sound. So for product storytelling, consumer engagement, what you have on the left-hand side is all your master data of your products, your customers, suppliers, your locations. You use that to generate prompts. With governed data, you send it across, cooperate, you could say, with the machine, get something back, and then you review that, and then you release it for downstream systems. A single slide more, and then we're done. Prompt engineering, it is something that we're working with because there's a tight knit to govern master data in that you can use some of these different disciplines, such as few-shot prompting, to generate good product storytelling, to make sure that you engage with your customers. So use few-shot prompting, for instance, to ask the machine to say, I've got this great description of this product, give me a similar description, but for another product, but using that as a template. So you feed it an example of what you would like with some data that it hasn't seen, and then it generates a description back for you. Make sure that you are aware of hallucinations, of course. We've heard that as well many times today. They will hallucinate, and they will. We did some experiments. We had centered candlelights, and we wanted to try and generate good descriptions for that. And that was quite compelling and convincing. And then we said, well, let's do it for the French market. So it translated it. And then we said, well, can you please include some quotes from Victor Hugo and some other French poets? It included 3 poets and 3 quotes, but they were mixed up. So what it said that Victor Hugo had said in a poem was not Victor Hugo, but someone else. So beware of that. And then be clear on the structure of your prompts, especially within master data management. That is extremely important because you can drive some very good storytelling, but you can also get into a big mess and get something back that you just can't use. So that was it for now, I think. I'm happy to continue conversations during the network break, the network event. You can also reach me on the app. And if you're interested in the folios, I don't know if they're handed out probably after the event, but then I'm happy to share. Thanks for your attention, and I hope you have a good evening.